Welcome to the Geek Easy, fellow geeks. Let's open a beverage of your choice. Because today is Friday. Not only is it Friday, it's Friday the 13th. So that means we're going to be doing a special edition of Frightful Fridays. If you watched my last video, I mentioned that I was probably going to, for this week, I was probably going to review a Friday the 13th movie. Asked which one you guys wanted. I wasn't given any options, so I went with one that I hadn't seen. I've seen 1 through 4, so I decided to go with number 5. Okay, so this movie here, if you saw, okay, this was 5. If you saw number 4, this was the one with Corey Feldman as a young kid, and he wound up taking on Jason and beat him through various movie reasons. Okay, so now this one here picks up a few years later with Tommy being a teenager, and he is being transferred to a kind of a camp for troubled kids. He had been in I guess an institution before, trying to get over what happened to him as a kid. That, you know, people saying he's like psychotic and all this stuff. And so he goes to this place where, you know, there's a bunch of kids who have issues, and there is a psychiatrist or whatever in charge of it with his hot female assistant psychiatrist, and they are there to work with the troubled kids. So you've got those two adults, then you have the old cook, an older black gentleman whose grandson is staying with him, and got this really cool, the grandson is really cool. But Tommy is kind of messed up from his experiences. But Tommy has a dream of back from when he was a kid, where he sees a couple of people wake up, dig up Jason, and he kills him and all that, and goes to kill him and all that, but it's a dream. So he's been troubled with all this for years. Now, there is an incident there with kind of this annoying young camp member who gets murdered by another camp member, and then all of a sudden the murders start happening. This is like right after Tommy gets there. And we go through them, boom, boom, boom. And, this is in line with all the other Friday the 13th movies before that. You have the young kids at a camp type setting, and they're all doing teenager at camp type things, even though this is a kind of a loosely run institute, but it's in a wooded setting. So that is always what incurs the wrath of Jason, and this isn't Camp Crystal Lake. I don't think it's. Is that even? Yeah, but it, whenever you get these type of kids in a place like this, they're going to get slaughtered. And this has a couple of really interesting kills in it. One thing I did notice, and I was beginning to think that this was, there's two things I noticed. One, the kills weren't that dynamic. I seem to remember some of the ones from earlier movies being a little bit more elaborate and being a little bit more, having a little bit more flair to them. And a couple of them actually get, you hear it happen, but you don't see it happen. Right? And then when it is being seen, you're seeing it through, taking off my brace, Jason's eyes. And so, no, I don't want to spoil the end for anyone who hasn't seen it. But from the way this was done, I was thinking that they were trying to maybe say that it was somebody else who was doing it. And so I get done with it. And he had the typical showdown at the end. You've got the final girl. And this one, it actually was interesting because it wasn't just the final girl. And I knew it wouldn't be because you had Tommy there. So I was beginning to think that Tommy was going to be the final person as opposed to it being a final girl. But there's 3 survivors. And which was really kind of neat. Saying, hey, this is different. But then I realized how different it was because there was like the stinger at the end where they have like the they have at the end they take it up to the climax and then they kind of go down a little bit and show little things that happen afterwards. I'm looking at it going, okay, wait a minute. So I Marco Polo'd a couple of friends of mine who had seen the movie, and I'm like, is this... I understand this part of it, but what are they doing with this part? And so, yeah, it was a really kind of weird ending where they were trying to set something up. It's sort of like, the best example they gave was like with the Halloween movies, where some of them they take Halloween 1 and 2, and then you go 3, Season of the Witch. Okay, then they have to go with 4, boom. And that's, this movie is kind of like possibly the 3 or one of the later ones. It was really good up until the ending, where they decided to go with a little bit different of a track. And like I said, I'm not going to tell you what happened, even though I may have already kind of spoiled things too much. But hell, it is a almost 30-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it by this point, of course it was the first time I've seen it, so whatever. No, I've lost track of my thought. It was just. I wasn't sure how I felt about the ending of that movie because once my suspicions were confirmed, I was just like, okay, I'm kind of let down. It was really entertaining and fun up until up until the end. I mean, you have the necessary requirements for a type of an 80s type of slasher movie. You have, wilderness, unless you're talking, with this it's wilderness, like Freddy, it's dreams, all this stuff. And then you've got good kills, which there were a couple of them on this one. And you have some awesome looking women who decide not to be too shy about what they show. And they have a nice set of lungs. Yes, you gotta have a few, a few lungs. And there were quite a good representation of lungs in this movie, and good kills. So that was, like I said, that was all well and good. They're acted just as spectacularly as all the other ones do. I mean, none of these movies are going to win acting awards, but they aren't B or C level acting. They're done well, and it's entertaining. They have some great lines. You damn burritos, and just kind of fun characters. Even though there's a couple of them that really deserved what happened to them. But it was just that last little decision at the end that sort of made me go, huh. So that puts it down to like a 3.5, because the final decision at the end just makes it so it's like, no. No. So I'm going to have to watch 6 at some point. Because I've heard, someone told me what they do in 6. Obviously didn't spoil it for me, but so I'm going to have to watch 6 and see what I think. I'm going to be working my way through all of these. But yeah, overall it was entertaining, but there's a little bit of a letdown at the end. So 3.75 out of 5. No, did I say 3.5? It was 3.5 out of 5. And yeah, so let me know what you thought of it. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and let me know what you think. That was a good or bad decision. And like, subscribe, possibly share, most of all. Enjoy your horror movies.